The story begins with one of the ugliest guardians, Appa Ali Apsa, denies John Stewart's, aka Green Lantern's, request to leave Earth and start a tour of duty on Oa. John explains that this request is paramount, but they refuse to budge. Apsa claims that their decision is final and will not be changed under any circumstances. John Jones, the Martian Manhunter, shows up and suggests a solution by having John and Kyle Rayner, also from the Green Lantern Corp, trade duties. Kyle tries to weigh in and tells them he is all up for the suggestion and claims he is getting a little homesick. Apsa explains that the Green Lantern Corps is a military institution that protects the galaxy. He insists they will not change their decision on the matter and alter their plans simply because of the League's problems, suggesting that they know John's true intentions for requesting to go to Oa. He suggests that they will have to sort out their issues on their own when suddenly the alarms go off. Apsa explains that there is an unidentified object approaching Oa at astonishing speeds. Kyle and the other members quickly go out to handle the situation. They combine their powers to create a massive shield to stop the object. Kyle feels confident that nothing can break through it, but their shield breaks apart when the object makes impact, and the lanterns are blown away from the explosion. Seeing that the lanterns failed to stop the object from approaching, the Guardians quickly activate the planetary defenses while magnifying the image to identify the entity. They later realize it was Professor Evo's android, which shocked everyone upon its return. As it lands on Oa, the planet immediately disappears before losing all communications with the Guardians. John is still in shock over the sudden disappearance of Oa, but John claims they have more significant issues to handle. Based on his calculations, John believes that the unstoppable android is now heading for Earth. They later call members of the League and plan on setting up 3 layers of defense against it, with one on the ground, one in the upper atmosphere, and one in space. Everyone quickly leaves after getting their orders, when Superman is suddenly reminded of their last encounter with the android. When the android left Earth, it said that he had evolved to a level where none of them could offer him anything, which begs the question of why he is coming back. Back on Earth, Luthor is being interviewed for his new book, Into the Light, after it was reported to have projected the image of a reformed man. Despite that, many people are skeptical that Lex Luthor is a changed man. Luthor explains that he understands the people's skepticism, but the fact remains that he is no longer the man he was before. He suddenly shows everyone a suit he has been wearing, which he explains helps prevent the spread of the kryptonite-induced cancer for another 30 years. He claims it's not all guaranteed, as it may only be for another 30 days or even 30 minutes, depending on how fate plays out. Luthor explains to them that he wanted his remaining time on Earth to have meaning, hence why he wrote the book in the first place, to make a positive difference in the world. The reporter then asks him straightforwardly that he believes to be a changed man, with no grudges or vendettas even against the Justice League. Luthor claims it is far from the truth, as he believes he owes the Justice League everything. While he thinks of them in a new light after having trusted him when no one else would, Supergirl and Steel suddenly appear before them and whisks him away. Shocked by the sudden abduction, Steel explains that Professor Ivo's android has returned. Luthor suddenly has a change of heart and explains that no matter where they take him, it won't be enough. He explains that he has a better place in mind and asks them to bring him to a barbershop. Although not buying into Lex's plans, Supergirl and Steel go along with it when Lex suddenly escapes them after he sits on the chair, and it quickly becomes an escape pod. Supergirl and Steel chased after him, but they ran into a maze. Supergirl claims they'll have to go through each tunnel. Still, when they ventured deeper into it, Supergirl was suddenly weakened by the shards of kryptonite in its wall. Steel carries Supergirl on his shoulders and continues their chase after Luthor. Luthor finally arrived at his destination, ran to the room behind the wall, and prepared to fire a vast particle cannon at the entrance. Out of nowhere, he hears Adam's voice, suggesting he was already on him when Supergirl snatched him away from his home. Lex explains how he is unsettled after learning that the most powerful creature in the universe is after him, and the League decides to send in their least powerful members to protect him. Adam tries to comfort Luthor and explains that he is the perfect person to be with him, given that he is a nanotechnology expert, the same technology Dr. Evo used to create the android. He claims he may be the only man to find the chink in the android's armor. Luthor worries about how they would even find its weakness after the League confiscated the android's blueprints. Adam suddenly opens his hands and shows him the blueprints used to make the android so they can start working on a plan. The outer space team includes Superman, Green Lantern, Dr. Light, Stripe, Orion, Starman, and several Javelins, to name a few. They prepare for the android's arrival, who telepathically tells them they cannot keep him away from his goal. Superman asks why he has suddenly returned, to which the android confirms his suspicions that he is after Luthor. Superman claims that they will not give him up, and the android wonders why they bother him, as he is their enemy, and that they do not owe him anything. Regardless, Superman asks him to turn back, but the android explains that he has evolved far beyond what it was when they last met, and that they will be no match against him. When it had no intention of stopping, Green Lantern immediately led the charge, and everyone fired their best shot at it. Although it stops his descent, he remains unscathed and continues toward Earth. While working, Adam asks Luthor why the android hates him, to which he explains that he once took advantage of his naivete. Now that he's no longer naive, he is out for retribution. Luthor claims that he stopped taking advantage of the innocent since then. Adam claims he will need to be more convincing should they fail to stop him. Suddenly, John informs them that the outer space team has been totally wiped out, and the android is still on his path toward them. Later, Luthor lashes out at Adam for using the laser instead of the proton gun. Adam worries that should he use the proton gun, he'd fry the circuitry, but Luthor claims they have circuit breakers for that. Realizing the pressure he has been feeling, Adam reassures Luthor that they will definitely stop him. The android has finally entered the Earth's atmosphere, and it quickly searches for Luthor using telepathy. When he finally finds him, the upper atmosphere team confronts the android, including Supergirl, Rocket Red, Fire, and Red Tornado. The android quickly defeats them and continues towards Luthor, unfazed. John quickly informs the teams that the android is on its way and suggests they be ready for it. Luthor yells at John to stop interrupting them so they can continue working. Out of nowhere, Dr. Fate shows up, and John wonders if he offers to help them. Dr. Fate claims that he offers them hope in a futile struggle. When the android makes it to the barbershop, the team on the ground quickly surrounds him, including Wonder Woman, Ice, Flash, and Steel. After making a quick short of the others, he wonders why they never learn. Out of nowhere, the android sends out a pure energy surge, which blows everyone away and knocks them out. Going through Luthor's maze, the android is subjected to several traps he prepared for intruders, hoping it would buy them enough time to finish the laser. As it slowly approaches them through the entrance, Luthor and Adam finally finish the weapon and aim it at the door. Having come face to face with it, Luthor fires the weapon, but the android appears unscathed. It claims their idea of modifying the cannon to alter his programming is intriguing. He tells them that it might have worked a month ago when he was still a nanotech, but he reveals that he has transcended such limitations. As Superman and the others float unconscious in outer space, several Green Lanterns arrive to their aid. John is relieved to find them alive, but Kyle is still riled up after losing Oa. John asks them what their plan is, to which Kyle explains that they intend to use every bit of power left in their rings to take one last shot at the android. John worries that a blast like that could destroy half of the planet, but Kyle explains that half of the planet is better than none. Back at the Watchtower, John starts to wonder if the Green Lanterns are right, and if it is the only way. Dr. Fate claims that those words are usually used to justify destruction. John worries that with the amount of power the android has amassed as it travels through the galaxy, it can destroy Earth and the entire universe. He urged him that it needs to be stopped, here and now. Dr. Fate claims that he will continue to find a better way for the sake of all worlds. The android walks up to them, but when Adam tries to stop him, he quickly brushes him off. He explains how Luthor has lied, manipulated, and used him to serve his despicable ends. Out of nowhere, Adam uses his powers to shrink themselves to a subatomic level. However, the android claims he can still see them where they are as he picks them up from the palm of his hands. The android explains that no universe, however large or small, is denied to him. Realizing there is no escaping him, Luthor asks what he wants from him. The android explains that Luthor has everything humans desire, wealth and power, yet he craves more and will do anything to get it. He asks him why and what his ultimate purpose is. Having asked the question, Luthor realizes that the android was asking for his. The Green Lanterns make it to where Luthor and the android are when Dr. Fate shows up and stops them. He tells them to stop and wait, explaining that the android's nature has proved benign before and believing it will be again. John gets furious after describing having Oa destroyed as benign. He claims he doesn't stand a chance against the Green Lantern Corps. Seeing their determined faces, Dr. Fate stands down and steps aside. When they enter an empty room, Dr. Fate explains that Luthor is about to save the world. Luthor explains that for all his struggles to make a mark in life and his accomplishments, his name will still be forgotten in just a few short generations. Even the greatest of them can't compete against time and death. Having heard that, the android wonders why they struggle when he can just destroy everything right now. Luthor stops him and claims that he wouldn't be able to see the end of the evolutionary process. He claims that he should understand as the android himself continues to evolve. The android claims that for these past few months he has amassed so much knowledge, yet he remains confused and empty. He wonders what he is evolving into and for what purpose. Luthor explains that there is no way to tell, so he continues to stay in the game so he would know how it all ends. Being immortal, he will have the opportunity to see it all. When the android doesn't seem too convinced about being a witness, Luthor explains that they create their purpose in life, so he should now go and make his. Luthor then told him that he was petrified for his life when he initially heard about his return and coming after him. Now that he realizes the android's fears and uncertainties, he pities him. Having heard enough, the android pulls Luthor and Adam from the dimension and returns to the real world, where the Green Lanterns lie in wait. They quickly pushed Luthor and Adam aside and surrounded the android. Dr. Fate comes in between them and urges them to stop, claiming the fight is over. John claims it can't be over after him having destroyed an entire world. The android quickly explains that he did not destroy Oa, but moved it to another dimension as it was in the way. John asks him to return Oa, to which he quickly complies. Dr. Fate then tells him that he can help him on his journey to search for meaning. The android wonders why he is helping him, which Dr. Fate explains is his purpose. After agreeing to his proposal, the two went on their way and disappeared. Dr. Fate and the android later arrive at the Tower of Fate, where he informs Inza to prepare a room for their guest. Inza noticed that Dr. Fate seemed bothered by something, to which he explained that there was a moment he thought John would have attacked him if he hadn't stood down. Suddenly, Hawkgirl walks in on them and claims that he is just overreacting and that John would not go through with it, claiming that his bark is much worse than his bite. The end. Thank you for watching. Check out these other videos and make sure to subscribe and tap the bell to be notified about our latest videos. See you next time.